How's it going, everyone? Sinister the Gamer section bringing you another gaming interview with a dev. And before we move on, I'll gotta let our guest introduce himself.
Hello everyone, my name is LMG Trick64 and I'm an independent game developer.
All right. Oh yeah, before we get started, yeah, I hope you guys will enjoy the interview along the way. Anybody who drops in the chat, be sure to leave us a like. Yeah, and of course, when the interview is over, be sure to drop us a comment and share this out to your friends. But with that being said, let's go ahead and dive in right into it. Basically, to start at the beginning, what got you into gaming?
I honestly have owned a game console since I can remember. Um, my big sister originally had an SNES, and when I was born, that's basically what I adopted, and I've been playing games ever since. I've played the SNES, the Nintendo 64, GameCube, all the way up to the Switch now, and I've also played computer games since I want to say about 2005.
Okay, cool, cool. Hey, how's it going, Kev Retro? All right. So yeah. How did you come up with your project?
My project is actually something I came up with back when I was like a teenager, I believe. I
Oh,
used to have these little plastic gun toys, and one day I just kind of realized that when I turned them upside down, they kind of look like a little spaceship. And that's where the idea for my current project, Aerostrike, was born. I was thinking about these little spaceships flying all over the place in like an underground base of sorts, like caves and corridors and dogfighting each other. And that's where I started having the idea for this game. And I've been um, basically cooking the idea ever since, coming up with different setups, different stories, different
oh,
ships, and all that stuff.
okay. Did any other shooter games give you any inspiration or any influence?
A big inspiration was from a game called Alien Shooter 2, mostly from the idea of you fighting against a horde of enemies. And also, it was a big inspiration for what will become a couple of systems like how do you shoot, how do you aim, and how the camera moves, where you move the mouse and the camera is set up somewhere in between the cursor and the character. It makes it easy to keep track of the action without losing track of yourself, but also allows for things like what you will call tunnel vision, where you can get a little bit too focused on the action without
Hmm.
realizing that there's an enemy about to hit you from behind.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah, yeah. Crew Retro, yeah, yeah. Retro's in the building. Yeah, thanks for dropping by. Hope you guys enjoyed the interviews. Hey, be sure to smash that like. So, anyways, about your studio, how did you come up? When was that created, and how did you come up with the name for it?
Um, that was actually a tricky thing. Originally, I was planning to make a studio with a partner that I used to have back in college, but they went on to look for different things, and I stuck to development. Since then, I was have been kind of thinking about how I will uh, name my company, basically, and my indie development group. And I actually pondered for that for quite a while. I want to say like maybe 2 years.
Okay.
And I always thought like different things, but never something that quite stuck with it. And as time went by, I started using my username more and more often whenever I was talking about my game. And I eventually just adopted it as my company game. Like that's my identity online, so that I might as well stick with it.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. All right, let's go on to your game, Area Strike. I know you talked a little bit about it. Like for those, to the audience out there, yeah, like when did you first started the project? Like, is it just like you mainly working on it, or is anybody helping you with the development?
I'm actually a solo developer. I'm the only person properly working on Aerostrike. However, I did commission most of the art to various other people. The ships are made by an artist I found on Fiverr. He's
Okay.
from Indonesia. The sprites were also from an artist. The sprites for the UI the various weapons and abilities. That was made by another artist I found on Fiverr back in 2021, I want to say.
Okay.
Um, the backgrounds were also from an artist from Canada that I actually met through Discord. And the turrets in the base are also made by another artist from Brazil that I met in Discord. So, yes, aside of that, I'm the only one working in the project.
Oh, that's cool. Nice having a little networking out, around the world, meeting people from other countries.
Yeah, everywhere.
That's cool. Well, where you from, by the way?
I'm from Panama, down in Latin America.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Cool. All right. About Aerostrike. Like the presentation. What's it like? Like there's like a story or it's like a premises behind it. Just to start off.
Well, you see the portrait and the cover art of the game, and that's basically how the game plays.
Okay.
Um, the general story of the campaign is that the player is a character called Pilot Number Eight. He was hired to try out this new prototype combat craft called the Aerostrike,
All right.
and he's ferried to a planet all the way out in the middle of nowhere to give it a try. And during the test flight, the planet is attacked and taken over by rebel forces. And now the pilot is trapped inside the planet and has to basically find a way to escape alive while trying to deal with all the rebels that are constantly attacking him.
All right.
There's
Cool.
also a bigger story going on in the background about the government and the fighting out these rebels and how they and how things came to be and all that stuff as well.
Okay. Is there like any cutscenes or like still shots, probably just to expand what the story is all about? Like, basically like going through like different areas just to tell what's going on.
Fortunately, there's no cutscenes or anything because I'm working on a rather tight budget. But I did include a whole story section inside the game where you can actually read all the background information. It has stuff from what the UHG is, where the rebels came from, and the different characters that you meet across the adventure, and also all the various ships you encounter because each ship also has a little story behind how it came to be or what it's used for.
Okay. What did you use to develop the game?
I'm using Game Maker Studio 2. It's the engine that I've used the most to develop games, and also the one that I feel makes the job the easiest for me. I originally tried to use Unity, but it became a little bit troublesome very quickly, so I stuck with what I knew.
Well, that's cool. But yeah, because like in past interviews, like almost everybody I spoke to, they use like different engines to develop, which made it easier for them. Like, the few I've interviewed, like some used Unity, others used Game Maker that you're using, and of course all the rest used, of course, the Unreal Engine. Like, I feel like Unreal Engine is like pretty much like anybody who's like more advanced at it.
Yes, pretty much. You pick the engine that will fit your needs. In my case, since I'm the only one working on the project, I needed something that was simple and quick to work with. In the case of something like Unreal, it would allow you to make better graphics. If you're doing like a, say, fantasy setting with realistic graphics, then that's a good option. If you're trying to develop 3D games, then Unity is usually what people try right away.
Okay. All right. Going to discuss the gameplay, but before we get that, Crew Retro has a question for you and says, "How is the combat worked in, and what about the upgrades?"
Um, well, the combat is a simple, like shoot 'em up, bullet hell style. You fly your ship around, you can aim in any direction, and you attack at enemy ships coming towards you. And you can play it as a with a mouse and a keyboard, or you can play it as a twin stick shooter with a gamepad. It has a focus on switching weapons. Each weapon has a specific role it excels at. For example, there's an energy cannon that's really good at taking down enemy shields, but it's not good against enemy armor.
Right.
And at that point you switch over to another weapon, the 23 millimeter cannon, that is good against the armor, but not good against the shields. So it's
Okay.
this kind of switcheroo going on between what you need to use and what you're gonna swap to later for another situation. And the upgrades, it's on it's in a Metroidvania style where you go around the base exploring all kinds of rooms and locations. You find different upgrades for your ship that increases your health or your armor
Mhm.
or the amount of rockets you can have, or you can find new weapons or upgrades for those weapons. For example, that energy cannon I mentioned, you can find an
Mhm.
upgrade that makes the attacks explode and deal area damage. There's also different types of rockets you can find, ones that you can detonate in the middle of the air, and
Mhm.
another that you can cause them to implode and suck in all the nearby enemies and projectiles.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, because I saw a little clip of it like on your Twitter page. It's like I said, it kind of reminds me like a little bit of Asteroids, what along with some Bullet Hell. Because I remember some of the Bullet Hell games I played, like Ikaruga, for example. It's like, man, it's like it lives up to that genre. But I mean, it's cool and all. But as far as that goes, like, is there like a tutorial probably to like introduce like new players to it, so that way probably give them like and it's like a feel for the game, like getting started.
Yes, it's not like a tutorial level, like a specific section that then you go to the full game, but it's built into the whole campaign. You start up the game as, like I said, trying out this new combat craft, the Aerostrike. So you take off and you immediately go into a test flight where you try out the guns against some static targets, and then go into an arena and fight off some drones flying around. Then you swap over to a new weapon to try it out. You go back to the arena, fight a couple more drones, and in that process, I've already taught the player how to move around, how to aim, and how to uh, do basic combat. I also, and later on, I also teach them how to save the game by landing on docks. And when he finds the a second weapon, he also is taught how to switch between weapons. I feel it's more natural to do it this way than just pause the game every 2 seconds to tell you which button to press.
That's cool. It keeps the flow going.
Yeah.
All right, all right. Yeah. What do you have this game on? Like, do you have like a demo out somewhere, like, say like Steam or Epic or GOG, uh, a site like that?
Yes. Um, the game's demo is available on Steam right now. It's also available on itch.io, but I also released the game already on that platform. So if you want to buy the full game, you can get it there. I'm working right now on getting the full game out on Steam, but that's going to take a little bit more to finish out all the little details.
Okay. Oh, well, speaking of Steam, because like I said, like there's the past few people I've interviewed, like they went through their process with Steam. Like, how was your experience like when you approached Steam about your game?
I was honestly expecting it to be more complicated than it actually was. There's a few kings that did make me stumble a little bit, but overall it was smoother than I was fearing it was gonna be. I thought it was gonna be buried in like a ton of paperwork, having to fill out various forms and all that stuff, but it's surprisingly straightforward. I would say that the biggest issue is that the platform itself can sometimes break on its own. You can make a store page for your game, but then something in the background might break and you have to contact support to help you out and fix the issue. But overall, even that it's resolved quickly. Like it says that support might take between 3 to 5 days to answer you, but I've never had to wait more than one.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, because usually, like when you create your project, you usually keep like updates about like patches and like any glitches you have to fix along the way, just to make sure everything's working properly.
Yes, I've had to deal with a couple of issues in that regard. Namely, Game Maker Studio handles player input differently than other engines. Uh, Steam usually you just press F12 and it takes a screenshot.
Yeah.
However, in Game Maker, whenever you press F12, the game engine captures the input first and doesn't let Steam read it. So it doesn't take a screenshot. So I had to build an entire separate screenshot system so that when you press F12, it actually takes the screenshot and sends it over to Steam. However, because I had to do that, I could also modify it a little bit. I could give you the option to hide the UI of the game and just take a screenshot of the action. And I could also add a short delay so you can press the button, get into position, or get into trouble in the middle of a fight, and then it takes the screenshot and sends it to Steam just like normal. It allows me to expand on what they built.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, because usually I'll throw this question out there, like, uh, say like your game is successful, like Aerostrike. Do you plan on releasing like expansions for it just to expand the game a little bit more, or do you feel like hey you want to move on to work on your next project after that?
Honestly, I would love to make an Aerostrike trilogy. Like I have this whole idea for a sequel and then a third game to develop. The idea can also be expanded into various other one-off deals, like a multiplayer version of the game where it's people versus people instead of just you against the AI,
Right.
or maybe in a strategy game where you command your group of ships to attack different enemy bases and all that stuff. So, if this game is successful, I would really love expanding on it.
Oh, that's cool. Oh yeah, since it's like going to be on, is this a game just going to be PC exclusive, or sometime in the future do you plan on releasing on consoles?
Depending on the success of the game, I could indeed expand into consoles. Originally, I was having doubts about that because the game didn't support gamepads, which is like
Right.
the main input used by consoles.
Right.
However, I actually added that back in November last year, so that barrier is gone. The
Okay.
main deal I will have to deal with is getting the actual licenses to develop on the consoles and developing the game for the consoles. It's a
Okay.
possibility.
Right. Like, I mean, seeing a game like this, like console wise, I could possibly see this on the Switch, but to each their own. I mean, I'm sure people like probably, hey, would see this on PlayStation or Xbox, things like that. Of course, like PC players would definitely, games like this. Like, I somehow, if I ever had a Steam Deck, I'd definitely like to play a game like this on the go. But it's like I've seen how fun it is, like from the demo. It's like, hey, that's like something I can play this on the road, like on the go, just like on the Switch, things like that.
Yeah, that would be a dream come true, basically, being allowed to play this game everywhere.
Oh, okay, okay. As far as like, how many levels do you think this game will have without giving away too much?
Well, the main campaign has 6 chapters, and the game also has one secondary mode called Rebel Ops, which has a total of 12 missions divided into 4 acts.
Okay,
I'm currently developing another game mode called Hell's Fighters, and that one I'm not gonna say exactly how long it is because I'm still trying to figure out how long it will be.
okay. Hey, can you possibly throw like a boss mode in there? Like, usually I've seen some games that have like a boss rush to see, how, if you can get through all the bosses in one go, or things like that. Do you see throwing that in there, like probably as another mode, or probably save it for the sequel games? Depending on how successful this game is.
I could look into that, but Hell's Fighters is probably gonna be the closest it gets to a boss rush mode. The whole concept behind Hell's Fighters is like a gladiatorial arena where you go into a fight and duel with various different enemies in different settings or different maps, and you get a reward for successfully surviving the battle. And some of those battles will be against a single stronger opponent, like a boss fight. I could look into making a few fights be against several of those bigger enemies.
Okay. Possibly you begin like there's there like any difficulties at the beginning, like probably like easy, normal, hard, or ultra hard, that kind of thing.
Yes, there are four difficulty levels. Keeping with the theme of the Aerostrike being a prototype that's being tested, the difficulties are trial run for the easiest, standard test for normal, stress test for hard, and trial by fire for the hardest. So far, I haven't seen anyone actually survive trial by fire yet.
Eventually they'll find a way.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's basically I have all the questions. Like, I mean, yeah, because like, oh, before we go, when do you think you plan on releasing this game on Steam?
On Steam, I'm currently hoping that I can release it around July, maybe the end of July, because of several reasons that several things that I have to finish setting up, stuff like achievements. I still need proper icons for that, and also several background stuff that I can't really mention much without getting into trouble with Steam itself.
Right.
But that's around the date I want to have it fully out.
Okay. All right. Yeah, this concludes the interview. Oh, before we go, you want to tell everybody out there where they can find you at?
You can find me in Twitter. My handle is LMG3864G. And you can also find me on itch and on Steam. The game is out on Steam. You can find it by looking for MF01 Aerostrike.
All right. No. All right, everyone. Yeah, this is Sinister of the Gamer section. Yeah, this concludes our interview with the dev. As like I said at the beginning of the video or the interview, hey, be sure to drop us a like. Yeah, we hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you have a good day. Take it easy.